What's good, people? It's about that time to randomly relate, reverse rant, no hate. So I watched the face-off between Anthony Joshua and Francis Ngannou. Now, there are some things that can get your attention about a face-off. For me, it's not the trash talking. It's not any of that. Um, the things that people say and do for entertainment purposes, or anything related to that. You can see a person's posture, their facial expressions, the eye contact, the lack of it, like things you can get and sense in watching that. But let me say, both guys sound like they're confident. Neither guy's talking crazy. They're not doing a bunch of hyped up nonsense to try to sell the fight. They don't need to. Now, when you look at the fact that Francis Ngannou, because of what he has done in MMA, and the fact that these crossover fights is like, they're meant to be big money. And of course, people want the fight to live up to the hype. But here's a guy who only on his second fight is fighting the former unified champion of the world. I understand that, hey, what's gonna be is gonna be. So it's nothing personal on my behalf. I don't like that idea though. It's not respectable. It's really not. Because for all of the guys that's grinding, that's been here trying to get in these positions, and they're in the sport of boxing, and they basically get, the line gets jumped by a guy coming from MMA. Okay. Now, one thing I can say that people need to understand, what you can look at Francis Ngannou and learn is that, hey, don't ever count yourself out. Always believe in yourself. I'm not going to knock that man for taking his opportunity, but, and, he's only taking what's offered to him. In terms of the powers that be in boxing, like, seriously, but it is what it is. So, Ngannou, he says he don't think if he hit Anthony Joshua with the same hit that he same punch that he caught Fury with, that he doesn't think AJ will get up. He says, now let me show you an experience, and he could be trying to get inside AJ's head, but let me show you an experience and a little hypocrisy, okay, a little contradiction in the way of how this could work against Francis. He says when it comes to Tyson Fury is unpredictable, and he figured out what he had to do in the ring, not so much outside the ring. Outside the ring was just training to get in shape, and he's learning what he needs to learn to go in there and defend himself. Now, of course, you would think they would have done some type of film study to watch what Tyson Fury does, and to help prepare yourself. But he says that with Fury, you just never know, and he says if you would ask me before the fight, I would say Fury if you ask me who you think was the tougher challenge. But then he says he processed the data in the ring to figure out what he had to do with Fury. Now, let me set the record straight. For one, it wasn't like it was a dominating performance by either guy. Okay, Francis just did better than people thought. And Fury underestimating him and coming there looking like the Michelin man, that's again, that's Fury's problem, not Francis. Francis came there to do what he had to do. There's a lot of things Francis wasn't doing due to inexperience, and you can see it just like that. Fury played it safe, okay? Scared of the power. I don't care about a guy's height and weight. Everybody talks about, oh, this guy's huge, he's massive, he's this, yeah. Okay, whatever, who cares? Okay. At the end of the day, when he made that comment, then he says, Fury got up from a punch by Wilder. That, like, for him to get up from that punch is like, that's impressive, basically. And AJ says, who hasn't knocked Fury down? Several people have knocked Fury down. Okay. Fury's been knocked down by Cunningham. who was a much smaller guy as well. Okay, yeah, he's been knocked down before. And as far as him getting up, the difference, and look, the fact that now people saying the ref should have waved it off, the Wilder fans anyway. If he had waved it off, then fight's over, Wilder wins. But he didn't wave it off, and Fury got back up. Then they tried to go to he gave Fury a long count, and what happened. It's as simple as that. But you've never seen Anthony Joshua get knocked out either. And all everybody's going by is the knockdowns against Andy Ruiz. Once again, they overlooked the rematch. And we're not going to go dig into that. But if you expect a guy to get hit, get hurt, to not be durable, it can backfire. No different from Daniel Dubois and, anybody else thinking that Usyk can't hurt me, right? Fury's going around calling this man a middleweight and everything. And people hear words and they don't use their common sense. So, you think you're going to hit him and basically he goes down, he doesn't get up. They both said they're going for the knockout, but they're coming to win. If the knockout comes, it comes. With all that being said, though, you have to look at this thing and think like this. Anthony Joshua has everything on his side. Okay, everything. For Francis Ngannou to say he has to figure Anthony Joshua out in the ring, which is true. You have to adjust and adapt even if you do film study, because the opponent may do something different. He may be doing different things than what you're used to. But I think what Ngannou is trying to not do is make it a war of words. I think Ngannou, listening to him talk, he has this, I got a strong sense of feeling, and Anthony Joshua does too. He said, people underestimate me. I feel that that's what he thinks. If he puts pressure on AJ, he starts to land shots that AJ is going to get scared, be defensive minded, not fight back properly. First off, Ngannou doesn't have experience to know what he's supposed to do in a fight just instinctively. In a boxing match, okay? So all of what he did in MMA, that's great. But at the same time, he even told a story about how he went after one guy and that fight didn't go well for him. Okay, and I know the fight he's talking about, but bottom line is you should never go into the ring expecting your opponents to show weaknesses. Just like because this dude's a novice, Anthony Joshua has already said he's not training for Ngannou like he's a novice. He's training for him like, he does have experience, pretty much. I'm paraphrasing, but that's pretty much, you've said this before. And here's the thing, okay? For the Saudis, it's all about the money. They do care about trying to put the best against the best, but as far as putting him in this fight, you heard Ngannou in the press conference, the face-off say, he asked for this fight. Now, if it wasn't Ngannou, it would have been Joseph Parker. Okay, and I feel like it should be Joseph Parker. But in terms of it being a big event, this goes to show you that the Saudis, they respect Joseph Parker, and he proved them wrong. But it goes to show you they were not looking at Joseph Parker like a big-time player, like, okay, that's why, co-main event. You understand what I'm saying? Wilder was supposed to dog walk this guy, and it didn't happen. Otherwise, that's who should be there. Not Francis Ngannou, who only has one fight, but he's calling. He says he asked for this fight. So even for Eddie Hearn to be asked who's a good replacement for Wilder, and he goes Francis Ngannou. Okay, it's a cash grab. Simple. But as a fighter, okay, the promoter can think like that, but the fighter has to think, I got to go in there and win. Bottom line. People are talking about Ngannou because of what he did with Fury. Like, he is a seasoned veteran in that ring. I'll tell you what. Things can happen. And you can visualize something going one way and then it goes differently. But I will say this. For Anthony Joshua to understand who he is. He really has nothing to worry about with Ngannou. The guy is, look, he can punch. Anthony Joshua can punch. And talking about going into deep waters or whatever may happen, people put too much emphasis into, well, this guy 5 minutes, for 5 rounds in MMA, and it's not the same thing. It's not the same thing. And if you get tired, when you get tired, you can't grab and hold on. You can't take a guy down. You can't throw elbows, knees, kicks. You can't do any of that stuff. You can't wrestle. All right, so you basically have to depend on this, your ability to slip punches and take punches, and have the mindset to understand what you need to do and figure things out. And Francis has none of that on his side. So really, the best thing Francis can do is try to land a punch to get AJ out of there. And in terms of him outboxing Anthony Joshua, there's no way that he should. One of the things that he was doing that I was watching too, like you see a guy boxing, they're doing all of this here, and usually that's because they don't know how to get past your jab. Okay, they're trying to psych you out, trying to throw you off and discourage you from throwing shots that they can't get away from. Okay, they can't properly defend it. And I'm watching him. He's a novice. This is what I'm saying. But one thing I do respect about what they did, these guys are not coming in there to play nice with each other. But the press conference don't need that wrestling vibe. Yes, let's yell and scream and call each other names and act real ignorant. No, let's save all of that for fight night. Because fight night, they come in to try to take each other's heads off it, And that's all we need in boxing. We don't need all this other nonsense. So when people talk about entertainment and how, boxing needs, it needs to, people like Jarrell Miller and Tyson Fury, and for what? For what? Look at all that shit he talked before he fought, Francis Ngannou. He didn't really talk shit to Francis Ngannou. He got on videos and talked about how he's the greatest fighter of all time and he can beat any man born from his mom, all this stupid shit he say. And look at what happened. Then he just went completely silent because he was embarrassed. Huh? And, so all of the stuff that he says then turns around and says, like the stuff he says about, Fury I'm talking about, of course, and the stuff that he says about Usyk, and he's, call him a little dirty teeth, ugly little bug-eyed, dirty teeth, little ugly little man, and all this stuff he's saying, and all the hollering and screaming, and that's him trying to psych himself up to believe this, to try to get that spark going. That's what he's doing that for. It's not so much he's trying to entertain the fan. No, he's doing that to make himself believe that he can go in there and beat this little middleweight, like he like to call him. And that's all he does. Yell, scream, do all this nonsense. So what you do in the ring is what matters. And I say this like I've always said, he's not as comfortable as y'all think he is. And he's not as confident that he can beat Fury, Usyk, like y'all think. And so, for me, I never saw Fury the way these other people do. And there's a reason he don't want to fight Anthony Joshua. And according to his own words, if he beats Usyk, he's not going to fight Anthony Joshua. Like he said, Usyk beat him twice, and I beat Wilder. Okay, what does that have to do with you fighting Anthony Joshua? In fact, what does that even have to do with Usyk fighting Wilder? Right? Now, should Wilder have to work his way back and prove to get his spot? Of course. Rack up some wins. Not get your ass whooped and then all of a sudden you're in a title shot. And this is what, happens with a lot of fighters, man. They lose a fight and end up in a title fight. Their very next fight. You've seen this happen with fighters. Hey, man, let's look. Daniel Dubois, people was questioning his heart after the Joe Joyce situation. And then he goes in there, has some wins, then he goes in there and he fights Usyk. And Usyk basically just was too much for him. And he's a guy that thought Usyk couldn't hurt him, and he winds up getting dropped. Yeah, remember, he basically against Jarrell Miller was counted out. You always got to understand, when the underdogs win, listen to what they're saying about the underdogs. And what was everybody saying? He's going to fold. Dubois is going to fold. He doesn't have the heart for this. Jarrell Miller's style, he's too big, too active, and Dubois is not going to be able to handle that, right? That's what they were saying. Just like they alluded to Joseph Parker's downside when it came to Wilder. But it's funny because all of the underdogs won. And let's be real, right? Most people, boxing personalities and all, whatever, was saying Anthony Joshua was going to lose to Wallin. So pretty much my thing was, if Wallin was to win and Parker did win, right? What if he won? Who would Francis Ngannou? Francis Ngannou wouldn't even be in the picture. Because people would be saying nobody wants to see Francis Ngannou versus Wallin. You understand what I mean? Or Francis Ngannou versus Joseph Parker. And I can say that and back that up because Joseph Parker again beat Wilder, and it's not him versus Anthony Joshua, but Francis Ngannou, a man who's only in his second fight fighting to get a spot for Undisputed. So, that being said, Francis Ngannou, like he's saying, is now or never for him. He want to enjoy the time he got left because he know he doesn't have a long time left in the sport, And when you look at that, it's like, if he sits there and starts talking a lot of trash and, he's going to do this, he's going to do that. Now you got to go in the ring and back it up. And that's for any fighter. But these guys know what they have to do. They know they're coming to win. Let's put it to you like that. So whatever the game plan is, we'll see come fight night. But, like I said earlier, you never seen these guys knock AJ out. AJ basically got dropped against, Ruiz several times after dropping him, and he was never on Bambi legs. Never. But you know what's so funny now? I'm starting to hear people in conversation, not so much online, on the internet, on YouTube, whatever, but people are starting to say, yeah, man, that phone call you was talking about from this lady named Serafina, I saw that video you talking about. Yeah, she did say that, and right? And I'm saying, listen, we don't have to explain it to try to convince people of anything. We're just speaking the facts of what we heard said, and there's no secret about it. And anybody can do their research and do their homework and pull up this video. In fact, it was rumored for a long time, and she finally came out and said something about it. And like I said, Joey DeWaco never denied it. And Anthony Joshua just never talked about it, period. He just said, I was fine, there was nothing wrong. And to me, that was for one, to protect this team, and two, don't need to make no excuse. What happened, and then it was unfortunate and he went on. Now, let's think about this. If AJ would have pulled out of that fight, people would have been saying he was scared. They would not have said, like if for him to be concussed, okay, what you think Wilder would have did if Joey DeWaco could, see, and then this is what people do. He went on with it. Okay, Fury cut out, right? Fight was pushed back. You have different things that happen, and it's like Fury's situation is different in a sense because it's something that shows, okay? And there's controversy surrounding that because of the video not adding up. Like if you saw the video where the guy, some guy from Fury's team sitting there with the suit on, and he was saying that immediately you heard somebody yell, cut, and that blood was dripping down Fury's face instantly. Which is why when I posted that video and I put in the comment section, hey man, listen, you don't see any blood dripping. You don't see any blood dripping on his face, and you don't even see blood on the glove. So that footage that they showed was not the cut. So if he was cutting sparring, like he said, that video footage wasn't it. But all that being said, Ngannou Whether he's aware of all of that stuff or whether he just stay away from it doesn't matter. We don't need to get into all of that conspiracy theory stuff. He just knows he has a big test in front of him. Anthony Joshua has a strong guy that, did absorb some things quickly. And, he held his own against Fury. But if AJ understands who he is and what he has to do, that's all that really matters. It's really, like he said, Ngannou's not even his challenge. It's himself. And that's the way I see it. Because Ngannou is still green. He's still green. And one thing about guys, now, mind you, he didn't knock Fury out, he knocked him down. But when you have fighters, and we've seen this many times, when the fighters get knockouts a lot, they depend on that power too much. And it gets to the point they think that's the answer for everything. And it causes them a lot of times to abandon their overall skill set and focus too much on trying to get knockouts. Ngannou is only in his second fight in boxing. So one thing that he has is patience. Part of his patience too is because of he don't have the know-how. He's not a technician in there. He hasn't learned how to be surgical. Not yet. And if he ever gets it. So this isn't a long-term thing for him. His contract with the PFL, however many fights he had with them or whatever. What is he, 38, 39? I mean, how long he can last, there's only time will tell. But, I just want to see, for the sake of boxing. Now, of course, I'm pushing for AJ to win. But for the sake of boxing, I want to see AJ go in there and, really Hulk smash him. Do you understand? And make a statement for boxing. Because boxing is at a state right now, it's a joke, man. It really is. I have a video that I'm, coming, that I did for that, but about boxing right now. And, you guys will see it when I put it out. But he needs to do that. There's no boxer that's going to go in an MMA ring, cage, or whatever, and they're going to go in there and spare them and play with them, and they're going to go in there and try to beat the brakes off them to make that statement for MMA. You understand? And boxing is the same. So we'll see what happens come fight night. But AJ, you need to go in there, and you need to batter and beat this guy. Whether it's a 10-round fight, and Ngannou said, no, 12 rounds, 10 rounds, right? Okay, so my point, even in that sense, he went to 10 with Fury. He went the distance with Fury, right? He's saying no 12 rounds, right? But 10. He wanted 10. We know title fights are 12 rounds, and sometimes, you get them anyway, just for, to, as a little bonus for the fans. But, listen, Ngannou needs to be humbled and put in his place. Do you understand? He's not doing anything wrong by taking advantage of opportunities given to him. But they need to step up. And so right now, without putting pressure on yourself, AJ needs to just take care of business. That's all. I've never cared about hype. I don't care what you say about a guy, how hard he hits, how fast. I hit hard too. I'm fast too. So that's always been my attitude. I don't care about what that guy does. It's not gonna put fear in me. I'm gonna say, okay, well, we should have a great fight then. You understand what I mean? No, damn, this guy can punch, yeah. So can I. I can crack with both hands too. Super fast hands, super hard punches either. So, foot speed, footwork, ring IQ, ring generalship, all that understanding. Got that dog in me, that wolf in me, all of that, right? That. So, you understand what I mean? It's when you look at a fighter, it's not about psyching yourself to believe a lie, to be delusional. It's to understand he cut, he bleed, he hurt and feel pain, just like me. So, the fans and the spectators are going to build people up to, oh yeah, this is going to be Kong versus Godzilla. No, they're two human beings. That's all. But again, for the sake of boxing, Anthony Joshua, he needs to take care of Francis Ngannou. Talk to me in the comment section. Never fall in love with lies. Remember, the truth brings hate out of people, and I will catch y'all on the next video.